Okay, welcome to Bitrix live Q&A. I'm Damien Edwards, Commercial Manager of Bitrix Partners Interface, and with me I've got our Support Manager, Andy Naylor.
Hi guys, if you've got any questions throughout this Bitrix24 live session, then just put them in the chat box on YouTube, or you can tweet us at Interface, or you can drop an email to live@interface.com. And if we don't get through your question today, we can always come back to it on the next session. We're here every Thursday at 10 AM Eastern Time for 1 hour. So I think Damien's going to kick off with...
We've got a question here. Please can you explain how to add task reminders so that if a sales rep is on a different page other than Bitrix, a screen pop-up or notification shows up. So I think there's a couple of ways of doing this. You can actually do it in your browser. I think with most browsers within Chrome, which we're on at the moment. I think you would go to Settings, Advanced, I think it's Content Settings, and then Notifications. So there's a lot of different settings you can change in the browser. So this doesn't work. This doesn't. You can't enable pop-up notifications outside of a Bitrix application window without changing settings externally on your browser. So if you go to Notifications, you can then allow or block specific sites. The way to do it is if we go to Bitrix24.com and if we go to apps, then we want to mobile and desktop apps. So if we download the desktop application, you can download it for Windows or Mac. That's an application that will run on your machine locally, and that will provide a pop-up whether you have your browser window open or you're logged in. You don't need to be logged into the Bitrix app. You don't need to be logged in through the browser, and that will give you a pop-up. Whether the browser window is showing on the screen or not, you'll get a pop-up notification. So I guess the other way to do it really is to have your mobile app. Again, download the mobile app from the same page on Bitrix, and you can receive notifications on your locked screen of your mobile app. That way you're not restricted to be sat in front of the desktop machine.
Yeah, there's things to just point out on the notifications. So if you go back into Bitrix and just click on the bell icon to the right to show your notifications, you can actually set which ones you want to receive. So I've clicked into my notifications. The left-hand side, that's also available on your desktop application as well. And you can see we're on the notifications tab, and you can decide which push notifications you want to receive. So on your desktop application and on your mobile, you can see which ones you want to check for your email, and you can also check which ones you want to receive on the site and the application. So you can see every different section. I think the question was referring to tasks, and you can see here that this is the box that you just need to make sure that they're checked. That's all. Okay.
Question here: what is my drive and how can I connect it to my local machine? Bitrix has a drive in work groups. This is going to a work group. So each work group will have its own drive space. Bitrix also has separate standalone drives that each individual user has access to. So if we go into your drive link in the menu, then you'll see the My Drive usually defaults to the My Drive page. Now on this page, I can see all the drives all the drives that are connected to my individual work groups. So I can access every document I have through the My Drive section. One thing to mention is we just go back into a work group and go into a drive, then we need to make sure that drive is connected. So is connected to your own personal drive. So we use this button here, connect to drive. This one's not connected. If I click on that, now it tells me it's connected to the drive called ABC1000. If we go back to here, refresh, then we can see that this folder from that particular work group is now connected to or available in my drive space. So provided your individual drives are connected to your personal drive, your individual workgroup drive is connected to your personal drive, you'll be able to access all your documents within here. Reasons why you might not want to connect a workgroup drive to the My Drive space is that if you're running the desktop application, all these documents in the My Drive area, all the folders, all the files that sit within them will automatically sync to a replica folder on your local machine. So if you've got a particular work group that's got a lot of very large files in it, you might decide to not sync those files to a local machine. What's the question? Can I connect it to my local machine? So yeah, absolutely. So as it stands, Bitrix, the Bitrix tool does not require you to download any software at all. Generally, it all operates in the cloud, and you access everything through the browser without downloading anything. The Bitrix does, as we just mentioned, an external application called the desktop app. And the main feature of the desktop app, although we just mentioned notifications, that's a good feature, but the main feature of the desktop app is actually to sync documents from your Bitrix application to the folder in your local drive. So if you go into here again, Bitrix24.com/apps, you can download the desktop app here, sign in with your normal username and password. If you're using self-hosted, you'll need to put in the URL, the address of your site, as well as username and password, and it will automatically copy your files then to a local folder. So that's how it works. Every time, provided you stay logged into the desktop app, it will continually sync files from your application to the local folder. If you change files in the local folder, it will save them, it will resync them back into the application. So yeah, it allows you to access those files offline, have a backup copy of those files if you need them. Bitrix doesn't include a tool to be able to edit things like Word documents, so you're always using an external tool for that. So if you're using the desktop app, you can open those files, those Word documents, with your local copy of Word. You can edit them, and it will save it back into the application automatically. So you choose how you want to edit documents. So if you're accessing documents through the local folder, when you click to open those documents, it will work like any other documents do locally. It will use your default application. If you use Windows, it will use Windows by default. If you want to access those documents from the Bitrix application, you can choose how those files are opened. So you've got the option to choose a default setting to either open those files using your local application or using a cloud tool. So if you're using Microsoft 365 or Google Docs or something, then you can choose to do that. So that would mean that I don't think we're logged into desktop app right now, but let's see if we've got a document in here. So if you've got a Word document here, PDFs and things will open up fine because they open up using the inbuilt viewer. But if you want to open a Word document, you're going to need to use an application to do that. Bitrix won't do that for you. So, but if you've got those settings as we looked at there, if you've got those enabled, the right one enabled, when you click in this document, it will open your document for you using the local application, so it will become editable. As you can see, I've got a viewer here, but not actually opened the document to be able to edit it. So you can open these documents from the Bitrix application. You don't need to go to your local folder to do that. So that's how you connect to the local machine. You don't really do any networking or anything like that. Just sign into the desktop app, and it will do that work for you.
Okay. So yeah, we had a question come through in the week, and I think it's quite relevant to show you on the system. It's just about manually triggering workflows on a particular CRM item. So, and based on what we're submitting, is we're going to submit some actual static information and trigger that workflow. So let's show you. I think it's quite a good example. So what we had is we've got a range of different companies. So let's go into here and we'll go, for example, into Bread Limited. And what we wanted to do, we wanted to trigger a workflow and submit some information once we trigger that particular workflow. So we're going to do it by creating a new workflow here, and then we're going to, it's going to pop up with a form, and so we're going to submit some information for that form, and it's going to go in and use it in its actual process. So if we go into the CRM settings and go into the automation side of it, and then we'll go into the business processes. And then if we're going to do it on a company, and we'll click on add template, and we're going to create, let's say this is going to be a tax return for this particular client of ours. And we're going to manually run it here. So we can say, when added, we're going to take it off. So there's 3 ways of triggering a workflow on a company. We can have it when we add a new company to the system. We can add it when we can run it when we edit a new company on the system, and we can manually run this particular process by clicking on the icon within the company. So what we're going to do, we're going to first of all set up our form that it's going to pop up. So we'll say this will be, I don't know, our tax code. So we need to give it an ID, a unique ID. And this is going to be a text field here, so it's going to be required. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have tax return form. So let's say tax form. And obviously you can create your own forms in here. This is just an example. What we're going to have there is we're going to have a file upload. And then if we click on OK. And then finally we will add a responsible. So we'll have a tax clerk, we'll call it. And what we want in this is we actually want to pick a user who's going to be responsible for this particular tax return form. So that's going to be a member of our team. So it's only a three field form. It's quite easy to set up. Like you say, there's quite a lot of options we can use for field type. Click on save, and then what we want to do is we want to, first of all, maybe let's bring an element into here and bring in an approval element. And what's going to happen is we're going to trigger this workflow on a particular company. We're going to fill in the form and attach the tax return form, and that's going to get sent to a member of the team. So in our case, we're going to send it to the person who we use as a tax clerk. So we're going to have that there. And then we're going to have any people, and then we're going to say and what we can do here is this is going to appear, and we're going to select some of the fields. So we'll say tax code. And we're going to say we're going to have a link to the form. And it's going to go to the person who's responsible for this. So obviously, if you've got more form fields, you can bring them in. You can actually bring in also fields from the company itself. So click on element fields, you can see here that we can see company type, industry, and any custom fields that you've created against the particular company. So let's save that. And then based on that, we can do a number of things. We can maybe want to send an email out. If it gets approved to the actual client itself, we could send a notification out. We'll just send a notification out in this case, just to show you. And like I say, you could send an email. I think what's common is to send an email back to the company. So if we, just in case in ours, we'll say, just to show you as an example. And obviously, if it gets, tax cells in this case. So click on, and obviously if it gets declined, then we could put something in. It's just an example to show you. And what we can do, click on save, and then if we go back to our companies, and let's go back to Bread Limited here, click on here for tax return. That's going to pop up so we can put our code in. So whatever our code is, we can attach a form. So in our case, we can click on the form, and then we'll select ourselves as the tax clerk. So once it's good that we can populate this form once we manually trigger it. Click on start, and then we can pass that information through. You can see here that the workflow has now started. And then if we go into our actual workflows, I should receive, there we go, tax return approval. So I put myself as the tax clerk. If that wasn't the case, it would have gone to whoever I put in within the particular form. Click on start. I can download the document that we attached if I wanted to. And like I say, we can pull in any information here if I want. In our case, we're going to click on accept. And if we just give the page a refresh, it should now come with a notification to say approved. So we could send an SMS message there. We could send an email. We can pretty much use any information in the company. And that's generally how we can manually trigger the workflows.
Yeah, I think that's I think that's really useful for lots of different aspects of companies that are doing some processes on paper forms or manually. That's really useful. This page is really good to create a structure for how people can work through approvals like that. So you'll see a list of things that you need to take action on. You get an indication here of who it's come from. You can then create filters at the top here. So if you wanted to categorize them from different types, that was a tax form, you could have a filter up here that did that. So if I just click into this, I can change the filter items here. So I could have, yeah, there we go. So what we created, don't know what it was called, but you know, you can select the process you've created in there and then have a filter just to show those items. You could do a filter based on you know, current ones that are in progress, so you can filter out all those that are complete. Of course, that's useful. But yeah, that's sort of having a page like this to work through these in a logical format is good. I think in that process you could build in also things like reminders as well. So if somebody's not actioned their part, you could send a reminder. You could escalate it to somebody above them. So that would be done by going to the company structure. So if you wanted to send a notification to this guy here, but you could put some sort of control in place so that if he doesn't reply within a couple of days, then it gets escalated to the head of his department. So things don't get stuck in lists like this. So,
yeah, I definitely do think that these kind of processes are probably one of the most powerful elements of Bitrix. I think we've got a couple of questions with regards to CRM automation coming up as well, because I know a lot of people want to know how to automate inside Bitrix. So we'll cover that in a bit.
Yeah, I've got a question here. If I invite customers into the website, does this count as the amount of users on my package? So if you invite customers in, you would invite them in as an extranet user for a couple of reasons. I mean, you can give them a full access if you want, but you'd normally invite them in as an extranet user. That way they can't see your CRM, they can't see your HR tools. Essentially, if you invite them in as an extranet user, then they get access to, let's have a look at another one. They get access to a work group and all the features of a work group, so they can see this activity stream where you can communicate with them. They see tasks. They don't see all the tasks. If they're on a task, they'll see that task. Calendars, you can share documents with them. We have built-in chat tools, so you can chat, you can have a video or voice call with them as well. Photo libraries, lists and wikis as well. So all the features of a work group, which is, you know, quite a big part of the Bitrix system, they get access to. They don't get access to, it's not possible to give them access to the CRM or to the HR tools, things like absence requests and those HR sort of forms and processes. They can't get access to those. It's not. They're not as part of the terms of the license. They can't access those tools. So you're safe. That they're not going to be able to see any of your CRM data. They actually access the system through a separate instance, and you share that work group on that separate instance. So they actually access it. If you're on a self-hosted version, they would actually access it essentially on a separate domain. So in this example, we're on a self-hosted here. We're accessing it on demo.interface.com. If I gave my customer this URL and they were only an extranet user, then this would redirect, I think in this case, to /extranet, which is essentially a separate instance. They usually look the same, and of course you can collaborate across those two instances. It's seamless, but it is a separate instance. So that gives you some understanding of how sort of separate and secure it is from your main system. But the question is, do they count as main users on my package? So no, if you're inviting an extranet user in, then they don't count against the users. So if you're in a package other than the professional, which has a limited number of users, then they are not counted as any of those users in the system. On the self-hosted, let's just go to the extranet. We're on a self-hosted instance here. On the self-hosted, there's a bit extra you can do. I mean, we've used a different background image, which is a standard feature within themes here. But with the self-hosted, you could do things like display a little bit of different content as well. Over on this right-hand side, we displayed some banners. As I'm logged in as an admin here, I can actually go in and I can modify these items. Let's just click into this and show you what you can do. So I can control where it links to, of course. I can control the image itself. So you can, with the self-hosted package. So we talked about extranet users. If you're inviting people in, especially if they're customers, I guess you want to have a branded environment, and you can do that, or your own branding on the instance. So you can do that with the self-hosted, and you can remove some of the standard components and add your own items over here. You can control very well just log out of this edit mode. You can control very well the menu items you see on this side. We just log out as well. You can actually have a custom sort of login page as well, so you're not using the standard Bitrix branded login page. I can't remember the password. Okay. So so you don't pay any extra for, or they're completely free, and you can invite an unlimited number of users into the system.
Yeah, so we had a question just with regards to some of the automation tools on Bitrix, and basically how can we use a form to submit and trigger an automation rule. And Bitrix does come in with some good tools. So if you click into the CRM here and click into our CRM forms. So those of you that don't know about what Bitrix has to offer in terms of the forms itself, is that if you go into the CRM forms within Bitrix, you can create a new form. So let's go into one that we have got here already. So let's click into edit. So you can give the form a title, and what you can do is you can actually add fields from a CRM area that already exists. So let's say we're in the leads, and then you can pull in, you can see here that it's actually pulling these into the form itself here. So if we wanted to bring up second name, if we wanted to bring up date of birth, we could do. We can get rid of them quite easily. And it's really good because you can style the form, you can put breaks in and give it a title, different sections of your form. And you can also give it a little bit of a condition. So say, for example, let's say add a rule for the user size, and if it equals 2,000 users, then we can show or hide particular fields based on that. So it's really good because then if the user selects 2,000 users, for example, you may want to show them information that you need for a particular product or particular license, in our case for Bitrix. But yeah, you can make it conditional. So it's a powerful tool, and when when you scroll down and you clicked on the more, you can actually determine what it creates when it submits into Bitrix. So if you go into the actual lead, so for example, we're going to, once this form gets submitted, it's going to create a new lead there. If the details in the form itself, for example, if you pull in an email, we can actually merge the information that's been submitted in the form to the lead in this case, so it can update the information in there. So the question was, how can we automate on a new form result coming in? So we're going to create a new lead here. So once it comes in, so once the information from that form has been submitted, it's going to generate a new lead within your system here. So I'm just going to go to the list view for the moment so we can see. And once I click into a lead and click on the automation, then we can see on our automation rules that we already have some actions in place here. So if I just click on configure automation rules, then once the form is submitted, it's going to arrive at the new section here. And basically what you can do then is you can automate things once it arrives on the new. So let's say, for example, in our case, let's move that one off. Form gets submitted, in 3 days it's going to send the customer an email. So that would just be simply clicking on add client communication and send email. And then we can put, maybe we want to thank you. And then what we can actually do as well is we can pull in information, so we can say hello and then pull in the information from the lead itself. So maybe we'll just say hello first name. And so on and so forth. And you can run that in 3 days. You can run it immediately as soon as the new lead has been created. And you can have conditions. So we could say maybe that if the lead name contained X amount or whatever you want. So you can basically put a condition in there, and you can have it maybe equal a value that you've got in your form. So in our case, it was 1,000 users. We could put that in. There. If it equals 1,000 users, send this email. If it equals 2,000 users, send a completely different email. And it's not just emails. You can send all sorts of things in here. We'll cover it in a little bit again. But we can send SMS. We can create tasks. We can create internal things such as calls, meetings with this particular person. So you can really automate it as you go down the line. There's a question posed: what happens when it comes in? We're on the new. You're going to move this particular lead through the different stages. So if I was to move this into valuing, then in 3 days it's going to. You can see it started on the 3 days. It's going to send a notification to the person responsible, and so on and so forth. So you can build these up really, really well, especially on the lead side of things, to automate your processes. And you can get the information to your customer.
Did you mention triggers?
I didn't know.
No, yeah. So you can as well as updating these stages manually, a user updating these stages manually, and that being the trigger to action these items that we've set up here. You can use something external. So if I go into configure again, you can add an incoming email. So should an email coming from and again, we can add conditions on this. So should an email come in from the email address that matches the email on the lead, and then using a condition, if we want to use a condition, that can automatically update the stage of the lead and then action these items that we've got below. We'll go through all these, but email viewed, that's a new one. Email link clicked. So this is to do with the new CRM marketing tools. So we now have bulk email and marketing tools, same as MailChimp, built into Bitrix, incoming call. So a call that comes in from a number that matches, again, the one on the CRM, and various others. So you can do, as well as having a person update these stages manually, you can use some of these triggers as well. I think a good use case actually for that is if you send out, maybe automatically as part of a rule, you send out an email with a link to a form. So if you get an inquiry, you need to gather a bit of information from that person, you automatically send them an email. It links to a web form, one of the forms that we've just looked at. Should that form be submitted, then you can use a trigger to automatically notify or automatically update the stage of this lead to say, I mean, maybe when the form's submitted, maybe you actually want to convert this lead. So you're qualifying it at the initial inquiry stage. You've asked them for some more information. If they provide that additional information, you probably want to take it forward and save it as a permanent contact in your system. So, yeah, we've got a question here. Is there a problem with currency conversion in Kanban list view? So let's have a look at currencies in the system. So if we go into US dollar here, so we have US dollar here. And we can set a conversion rate from the dollar to other currencies down here. So Bitrix doesn't have any live currency conversions built in. I think we've done some integration on self-hosted whereby we can update those rates daily or even kind of more often than that if you need it more often than that. But essentially you put in your conversion rate. So we go into so in this case, we've got dollar as the base currency. So if we click back in, we can see that it's 1 to 1 here. If we go into a pound, then we can see £1 equals $1. So what we probably want to do is change that to $1.50. So I guess the first thing to do is to make sure you have your exchange rates in there, the exchange rates you want to use. Make sure you've set up what is going to be your base currency, because that's going to be the currency that you're going to be reporting in. So the question is, in Kanban list view, so I guess you're looking at deals. Where's our deals? Okay, so you can see if we've got base currency dollars, then we're viewing these totals here in dollars. I don't know of any problems about currency conversions in this view. I mean, I guess we could set something up and just test this, shall we? Should we change that to pounds? So it's £100, so we should be looking at on that exchange rate $150 as a total for that column. So got 100. Okay, so let's just refresh. So we've changed that to £100. Let's just go back into that. So we've changed it to £100, and it's correctly given us a figure here on this card of $150. Hopefully that will update. Yeah, so it's updated. It's updated the amount in the column here. So yeah, so this is how it works. Although that's a pound invoice or pound deal, it's on this view, on this consider reporting page, it's showing it in dollars and totaling it up. So it seems to be working.
I think if you followed that correctly and you've got the settings as we have, and it's still wrong, depending on what version of Bitrix you've got, maybe it's worth just dropping a message to Bitrix and just having them check it out. But it should work absolutely fine, like we've done.
And we can move these around, and these values will move with that. So if I move that one over there, what's this one? For that to open right now. Internet's gone slow. Okay. Can I send my emails out of Bitrix? Can I send emails outside of Bitrix and see them inside Bitrix? So let's have a look at email. We got webmail. Okay, so we're in a cloud version of Bitrix here. You can connect your external email service. So whether that's any of these, or just put your IMAP settings in, and that will allow users then to configure email integration. So you can do that. You can continue to use your existing email provider, Gmail, Outlook or the other email provider, you have the options to create your own Bitrix email address if you want to do that. Bitrix is launching quite soon a updated email client. So I think Bitrix has used a third-party email client for quite some time. So I think the new built-in email client is going to be a big step forward. But you've got the option to use. I mean, most people we deal with would continue to use their existing email provider. There isn't really any additional integration as such by using the email client inside Bitrix. Doesn't give you any extra functionality as such. But of course, if you're paying for your email provider, if it's Gmail, you're paying for it probably, then you might want to consider Bitrix. But once you've set your email up, users can go into their email. Just go back into this different site. Users can go into. I'm not set up on that one. Okay.
I think still if you click on it, you'll be able to see what.
Okay. So you can follow the links here, the buttons here to set your email up. That's straightforward. Once you've done that, if I go into a CRM contact and see if we've got any emails in any of these contacts. So inside a CRM contact, we've got an email address for this guy here. Any emails that are received into your external email client, Outlook or Gmail, or any emails that from this email address, or any emails that are sent out to that email address will be copied into here. There's no requirement to have a plug-in on your email client. There's no requirement to CC the Bitrix system in any way. It will automatically copy every single email over. As you can see, it will record them in your activities page here. And you can reply to those emails from Bitrix as well. So Bitrix doesn't have, in this way, it doesn't have a kind of an inbox and the sent items as such, but you'll see inside each record all of the activity related to that particular contact. So you've got the option to send from Bitrix or send from your external email provider. You can create templates in Bitrix, so we can use a standard template inside Bitrix.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, we get asked a lot about this, and we get asked about if other staff will be able to see your emails to your contacts, which sometimes you don't want them. You don't want them to. So, I mean, you can't. The only way to do it would be either to not connect your email, so then your emails wouldn't come into the system, or you could set the CRM permissions up. So you can, if you're responsible for a contact, then you can have, as Davey's just showing here, you can, if you click on to here, then what we can do, contacts and companies, you can have the ability to only see your own contacts or companies, so then another member of staff wouldn't be able to then come into this particular contact and see your emails, so you would have to have it set to personal. And it's based on the company structure, so if you do set it to personal, then it's only the contacts and companies, in this case, that are responsible for, only the that you are responsible for. And then if you set it to department, then if you go into the company structure, then you'll be able to see in here the contacts and companies that the people in your department are responsible for.
Yeah, and you can do it. So let's just clarify that three different levels. So you've got personal. So I can only, and of course you've got different settings. You've got read, add, update, delete, etc. So read being the basic in that I can only actually see contacts that are my own. Let's just be clear about this. Actually, I'm in a contact here, and the responsible person for the contact is this guy. I've got permission. I can change that to myself. So now I'm responsible for that particular contact. And under this permission structure, I can view that contact. If I log in as any other user, then that contact won't appear. I won't know they exist within the system. Second one is I can view all contacts that I'm responsible for, and in addition, I can see all contacts that anyone else within my team or department is responsible for. So again, as Andy says, on this company structure, so I can share or view all the contacts within this department, or that have are responsible to people within this department. Second one you can do, or third one you can do, is go personal department and sub-department. So if we go back to the company structure again, in this case, I can view all my own everyone in my own department. I can view all the contacts associated with people in these departments that sit below my department. So it takes a bit of thought, I think, to do this right. I think what you might want to do, obviously, what read access is very important. I guess update as well. You know, if you want people to be able to see it but not actually be able to change things, then you might have different permissions for these two here. You probably don't want people to be able to delete other people's contacts. You might not want anyone to be able to anyone with general users to be able to export contacts. You might want to deny that. So yeah, you can go into a lot of detail there on companies and contacts. When it comes to things like deals and leads, you can actually set permissions based on the stage of the deal. So these are the different stages we have in this site on deals. What I sometimes say to people is that you might want to change this update setting when a deal is won. So let's say when a deal is being won, you might want to prevent access from to prevent somebody from actually changing the content of that deal. So you might want to prevent them from actually changing the value of that deal or something. So it kind of locks it down once it's been won. Of course, and other users have different permissions. Would be able to do this. So you might have a sales team who can't change the deals once they've won, but you might have a sales manager who can change things if they need changing. Did that answer the question?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I don't want activity stream as my main page when I log in. Can I have the CRM? It's my first screen. So when you log in, activity stream is the default page. If you want to change that, that's fairly easy. Go to the CRM. Firstly, I think what you want to do is decide what's the default page for the CRM. Firstly, activities in this case. It's usually start, I think. You can change this by going to configure menu. The one that sits at the beginning here is going to be the default page. If I click back into CRM now, it's going to default to start. So firstly, deciding which is the default home page for the CRM, and then if we configure menu items here, we can we change make home page for Bitrix24. So this will change the view, the default page for myself, and it won't change it for anybody else. It drops it at the top. Let's save changes. If I click on my logo and refresh, it will now default to this page. There is, I think, within leads, CRM mode, slightly different, but you can choose to have a slightly different mode. It's essentially around whether you want to show leads or not show leads within the CRM. On the self-hosted, you can do a bit more on this.
Yeah, I just wanted to show you. We had a couple of questions last week from clients of ours, and it was just really with regards to making the system. I'll just jump onto the cloud. The client was on the cloud at the time, and what they wanted was the ability to actually link out to other places. So maybe, I don't know, their Facebook page, their Twitter page, and to make it a centralized place where people can log into, and they don't have to try and open another tab, type it in, and remember the name of it. So it was just, as Damien just showed you, I just wanted to just follow on before we moved on to the next question, is that we can add a custom menu item here. Quite a few people don't know that this exists, so maybe if you wanted Facebook, we had facebook.com, make sure we got it right. If you want to open up in a new tab, which if it's an external website, we probably would recommend you to open it up in another tab so people don't I've always got Bitrix open. And if we click on add, then you can see here we've got our new menu link. Now, it's pretty straightforward. Click on it. It'll now take me to Facebook. And what we can do as well is, if you wanted to, as an administrator, what you can do is you can then set your menu for everybody. So we'd probably recommend doing that once you kick off using Bitrix. Create the menu that you want. So I didn't think we said about the ability to hide. So maybe we don't want to have, I don't know, maybe employee section. Let's hide it. Click on save. And then you can see that the employee section's gone. Click on there and then click set menu for everybody. And then again, that will allow everybody to be viewing exactly the same thing as you, and they'll be able to customize it yourself for that. So yeah, so that's how you set the menu up.
Okay, we can change on this self-hosted, can't we? We can customize this menu a little bit more. So if you go into edit mode, if you're an administrator, you have access to edit mode, and then scroll over your menu, and then you can change inside the control panel. So you have a lot of extra functionality on the self-hosted to change really anything in the system. So firstly, I can change this. I can change these descriptions if I want to do that, and you can move these items around as well. Like this.
Yeah, the good thing as well with the self-hosted, if you wanted specific people to see specific menu items, then that's also possible. So you can see here, if you wanted only a particular user group to be able to see the projects menu item, then we can, if you wanted maybe the HR department to see projects, then we could set only that user group to be able to see that particular menu item. Yeah. So it is useful.
Yeah, I think it can be really useful. So if you've got different groups of users, you want to give them different content. I mean, even if you want to hide some content to extranet users as their customers, and you don't like the sort of default content they see, you can, in self-hosted, you can change the content that you see, change the descriptions, or you can have different types of customers that when they log in, some customers see certain menu items, some see other menu items, depending on the permissions you give them. You can do things like, you can do things like time periods. You can have menus expire. You can do, go into doing PHP to really create any parameters you want to choose how you show menu items to different users. Okay. I see a list module, but I don't understand what this is. Let's go back into lists. So it's going to come out of edit mode. So Bitrix includes lists as a standalone tool. You also see lists inside every individual workgroup. I think the way normally it's described it is that lists are tables of data. So the sort of thing that you might be recording on a spreadsheet, you can record on a list inside Bitrix. But there's a couple of reasons why you might want to do it in Bitrix rather than continue to do it on a spreadsheet. If we let's go to this one, safety records. So let's say we need to record whenever we've had a problem. Let's just change some of these fields we're seeing here. Let's say we need to record it whenever we've got a sort of safety incident within a business. You might do that on a spreadsheet. Now you can do it within Bitrix on a list. I can add a new line item to this list using this. Of course, if you've got permissions, then you can customize the fields that you're seeing in this list view. All users are able to. So if you're an administrator, then you can create new fields and delete fields. All users can choose which fields they display in their list view, so they can hide fields if necessary. But once you've got your content in there, there's things you can do which you probably can't do on a spreadsheet. Firstly, we can filter. So I'm going to filter by, well, I can type, and it will filter automatically by the description. If I delete that, I can filter also by other things. I guess one of the created by will be one of the main sort of items I might want to filter. So I want to policy or responsible to, or something like that. So we can create these filters, and it's a live search. So as and when I type in a filter item and continue to type like this, it will continue to narrow down the filter. It's a live search. It's a multi-filter as well, so we can have additional filter items to this to get to the data you need. So if you've got a very large number of records, that's very easy to find those. All these records can be, views can be customized. But the second reason why you might want to use this over a spreadsheet is that you can run business processes. So say we need to notify somebody about a particular incident, then I can trigger a process that will really do whatever you need it to do. But I guess maybe create a workflow, which would appear in someone's workflow items here to say that they need to take an action to rectify this particular problem. So we've got notify. Maybe we'd have for this type of safety records, maybe we'd have something like escalate as well. Various different things that you might need to take place. So these processes could run manually when you trigger them manually. They can run automatically when a new list item's been added. They could run after a period of time, that sort of thing. So I guess it's a lot more dynamic storing data in a list than it is storing data just on a spreadsheet where there's not as much you can do with it really.
Yeah, I mean, if you did want to get it out, and if you did mention that you can export it to Excel if you wanted to, so you would obviously just export the column names and the rows, and it would put into an Excel doc. So you can obviously export all the data out of Bitrix from your list if you wanted to. So.
Is there a maximum number of companies and contacts that can have in the CRM? So there isn't any. Bitrix doesn't charge by the number of records that you have in the system. Charging is based on the features that you need and the number of users in the system you need. So there's no maximum to that. Oh, it said a follow-up question here. Can you extract data onto a PDF as well as a spreadsheet? So you can't export this as a PDF just onto a spreadsheet. You can print most screens now. We don't have the feature to print that screen, I don't think. Oh, right, we do. Okay, right at the bottom. So yeah, so that's a PDF. So you can.
Switch the layout to landscape.
Incorrect. You can export this as a PDF. Of course, yeah. I mean that was to print, but if you want to change that, you could just change the save as PDF.
Yeah, I think Bitrix have introduced that quite in a number of places, haven't they? I think there was a lot of call for it, especially in the tasks side of things. So if we just jump into tasks while we're just talking about printing screens, click into the Gantt chart view, then what we can do here, we can see an overview of all the tasks and print. So exactly the same way as what we've just shown you, but we can basically specify what we want to print in terms of the date range, the format, so we want to do it in landscape, and then again, it's going to bring it out. We've got quite a few tasks and save as PDF in there. And it's really good this because you can actually do it on a project by project basis, whether you do it from the tasks section here and filter out the particular project. And then that will bring in any tasks associated with that particular project. And again, you can print that on a project by project basis. And it's good to send obviously to your clients to do that. It was a feature that was heavily requested, maybe probably about 6 months ago, a year ago, and then Bitrix have introduced that now. So.
Yeah. Got a question about managing staff leave, standard feature within Bitrix. Let's go to the activity stream. So if you go to the activity stream and more, then you have your workflows here. If you want, I'm going to create custom menu items. So we've got a request leave form here. You want to create a custom link to. We can't create a custom link to this page. Can we go to workflows and activity stream? No, we can't create a custom link to that page. But go to the activity stream, go to more, go to workflows, and then go to leave approval, and you can submit users can submit a request for leave, and then their supervisor will see that in their workflows and approve that or as necessary. So it's a standard. That's a standard process. You can edit these processes or create your own processes that exist within the workflows section within the activity stream. They're usually for anything that's to do with admin or generally sort of anything to do with admin or HR that people such as expenses submission and leave requests and purchase requests and that type of thing.
I think the only thing with that is you do need to be on a paid version of Bitrix to be able to access the workflows and the automation side of things. So yeah, just I think it starts at around about $24 a month. Yeah, I think that's all the questions that we've got for now. Like I mentioned, if I just pull up our contact details on our site. But as we mentioned, we're here every Thursday from 10 a.m. Eastern time, and we're here to answer any questions as you've seen and show you. Once it loads up. Yeah, answer any questions that you may have and show you how things work. Obviously, everything's free of charge on here, so please get your questions in if you want them in earlier in the week, just drop us an email to live@intraface.com, and you can see our contact details are also on the screen. We're in 3 different locations, so please give us a shout on any one of those numbers. We can show you, if you're interested in Bitrix, if you've not started using it yet, then we can provide one-to-one demos. We can do WebExes with your team at your via online to your offices, and we can do a lot of customizations. If you got the self-hosted or you think about the self-hosted, then we can do any custom processes or customized dashboards, all sorts of things we can do. So please get in touch with us. We're here to help.
Yeah, we've got some more questions in by email, but we'll come back next week. We'll cover those. Make sure we cover all those questions off we've had in by email in the last